everybody. Welcome to Unfiltered and Intentional. I just want to say thank you for everyone that listens now, later, a month from now, a week from now. You know how you do. I also want to say to Ty, I hope you feel better because Ty was not feeling well. So sad for that. Also, Specs will be jumping in. He was having some technical difficulties. And we're also competing tonight with the Academy Awards. So you already know how that could be, especially if you guys have a lot of fans out there that you're rooting for, that they get an Oscar and everything. I want that one movie to win, Liz. The one with Hampton, Fred Hampton.
Okay.
It was Fred Hampton.
That one.
The Judas one, the Judas movie.
I was gonna say, there's a couple of them. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm really shooting for that one. But just to let you guys know what's going on. Oh, here comes Specs. Can you hear us, Specs?
Yes.
Are you able to hear us? Yeah.
Yeah, it's one voice. Okay.
Hey.
Well, just to put it out there, everybody, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube, Unfiltered and Intentional. We're on every Sunday at 8. I was actually in Georgia for this last weekend and promoting my friend's new hot lounge in the heart of Atlanta. I'm so excited. I'll be name dropping a little bit later. Aramias, I'll drop the name right now too. But live music and entertainment and great food. And I'm just so happy to be promoting Black businesses and just establishments, that are just a good vibe and everything. So I'm super happy about that. But this is going to be a serious topic, guys. This actual month, and I wanted to do it before this month ended, was going to be talking about sexual assault. This is the month for that. The awareness. Of course, the whole month of April, this is going to be the end of April, but I didn't want to leave, the month without actually having anything going on. So I wanted to talk about that with you guys. So thank you once again for tuning in. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Specs. And once again, we're praying for you, Ty. I hope you feel better. I want to jump in there with a serious question. And my son actually had shown me a video about this. And I was like, I got to talk about this. So the question I'm promoting to both of you guys is, do you think that America promotes rape culture? Any one of you guys could jump in.
Yes.
Liz, you can go first.
Yes.
We're still going to hear from you, though. We're still going to hear from you. You said yes?
Yes.
Okay. And why is that?
Gosh, in a few different ways. And I know that some of the things I'm going to say are probably not very popular. I own that now, and I'm sorry if you know what, disagreement advances the conversation, right? So let's put that out there first, right? So there's a couple things, and I'm going to start with just I'm starting with the ladies, if I can. Can I talk to my girls first, right? And so a lot of times we talk about, I'm in control of my body, and when it doesn't matter what I wear and what I say and what I do and whatever. And yes, to all of the above, there's no argument from me there. However, if you're selling sex because it's sex that sells, when your customers buy sex, can you really be that mad?
That's a good question for the audience out there. I mean, I am a lady, and since I'm a lady, I will go ahead and if that question was posed to me, I guess there's a limit. You can go ahead and be able to sell sex, and and their videos and clothes and your sexiness and your sex appeal and that whole nine there. But at the same time, I think it does help promote the culture. Unfortunately, as much as I love Cardi B, and I think she, has the catchy hook lines and these things, and the Megan Stallions, and Little Kim's, if we want to go old school. Unfortunately though, it's a scenario where people can get the wrong idea. And it's unfortunate where we have this culture where if you are showing sex, if you are in a certain light, then that would help promote it. That would help give ideology to a man or a woman to say, hey, you know, you feel this way, I'm going to take advantage of you, you know, slut hole or whatever have you. I mean, oh, this is going to be a heated topic.
It's heavy. It's heavy.
Go ahead, Specs.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Do you feel that America promotes it?
Oh yeah, it's been America's thing, but it's been the world's thing. Like when you go back into, you know, old school values, it's rape culture. Like old school values is based on rape culture. You know, that's not a new thing. But we're becoming more, I guess, woke and conscious. So, but we have to, like you said, it's a two-way thing. Like you cannot sell it and then mad because somebody bought it. So you got the Cardi B's and the Little Kims that sell that the porno sexual part of a woman is probably like really not a real thing, and men buy it. So when men buy it, they see that and they're like, okay, I'm gonna react on that. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying simple is and simple does. So as a culture, it would have to be a collective to say this is, because you got your ones that are not going to do it, and then you got your on any fringe of any debate, you have your ones that are kind of out there. You got your people that when you suggest it enough, they'll do it, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to consider them, and guns and whatever. So do you take responsibility for your art, and then that you can't take the profit and not take the doubt. So you have to say, I do contribute to this. This is my art, and this is what I mean to do, but I do contribute to this, because you do. You all do. When you go out there, you talking about dropping drugs, you talking about, you know, she can work the whole crew, and she's like, you know, I can fuck, you know, well, sorry, do you and your man, like that whole culture lends itself to it. So we all have to take responsibility, and as a collective say it's not right, because you cannot say some of it's not right and some of it's right, because then that doesn't make any sense. So
right, you know, and tagging back into that, you know, and I know where the conversation is probably going to go, but just for where we're starting now within this part of it, is there really a difference between drugging a man and taking advantage of him, as has been suggested by some women in their music or in their interviews, and drugging a woman and taking advantage of her? I mean, are we saying one's more wrong than the next? You know what I mean?
It's so interesting you said that, because it's kind of like when you made the statement earlier, just a second ago, about the woman empowerment. So right now, you know, before you had the explicit female rappers, you'd have men, and they'll be talking about they're getting the honeys and this and this riding my Lex and my Benz. Or they have one song Rick Ross had one time. He was talking about slipping a Mickey with the girl and and he know who she could do, and you know, and then you have the women, and they're like, wait a second, it's time that we fight back. Let me tell you what I'm finna do. Y'all think y'all gonna take advantage of me and what I got going on? No, you're gonna give me that money. Like you said, it has turned into a thing now. Is it fair that a woman could put in her rap lyrics, let me, you know, drug this dude up, you know, and this, and now take him for his money and do these things? Now, granted, the question initially was, does America promote rape culture? And when when my son had showed me this video clip of these two people debating, this one guy was like, no. And the other guy was like, yes. And I totally agree. Yes, it does, just for the simple fact that our music, hands down, just the African, and once again, the show is streamed specifically for everybody, but you know, it's more intended for you know, for our people. But no, our music just happens to be that type of music where we're jamming and we're dancing to vulgarity, you know, and how this one is a slut and this one's a hoe, and you know, this and this. But let's see, 1 second. Go ahead, Specs.
Look at 80s rock. If you go to, like, I love 80s rock. That's my joint right there. But if you go to 80s rock, it's a lot of you know, objects. Because here's the thing: if you want to kill somebody and have a culture of killing, you don't make them human, you make them objects. So it's not so you're not really killing a real thing, right? So as in rape, if a woman is just TNA, which is a 80s term, then she's not a real person. So it's rape. So when you condition your mind to do that, then when other guys like, man, when she deserved it, she liked it. We see those movies, that was the conditioning. But if she's a person, then it's wrong. How could you do that? But if it's a thing, then why is it an issue? So people less than, I'm sorry, when you make people less than, that's when it's easy to make culture like that, to do that. And America has been doing that to women, is doing that to women. So it's more hidden, but like before it was just in your face. It was just what it was. But now it's less, I'm in your face, but it's still around.
I mean, going a little bit further here, and again, I know I'm gonna get hate mail. Please, guys, don't hate me. But also, let's be honest, right? Men are a lot more simple-minded than women are. All right, I'm gonna let that marinate for a second. Can you come back? I need cover. But they are, and here we go. The proof is in the pudding, right? Specs, you're on mute, so I know you're speaking, but Vakia is hiding over here. So here's the thing, right? How many magazines do we have just because men will buy naked women, buy pictures of naked women, buy them in any capacity that they can? How big is that industry? How many Playgirl type magazines do we have where it's a whole bunch of naked men? And how many women are going to spend their money, their hard-earned money, buying pieces of paper with pictures of naked men on them? We're just not. I mean, so with that, I'm sorry, Mark.
You see me going like this, Mark. I'm like, I'm not on the camera. I'm not on the camera. She's going to have to explain that. She's going to have to explain that one. Go ahead.
I'm going to go a little bit deeper, right? So with that said, if you take it and you make it just that simple, right? Again, if you're selling it, if you build it, they will come, right? If you're selling, they're buying. I mean, so with that said, don't we as women also have an obligation to know that if we over-sexualize ourselves and makes ourselves sexual, if we're dealing with not all men, Mark, right? But if we're dealing with men that are largely just fairly kind of simple in that way, how do we then turn it off on the drop of a dime? Oh, no. I didn't want to be that sexual. You know what I mean? Or I didn't want you to see me as a sexual object only. Yes, I'm a sexual object and I like to be sexualized and I like to sexualize myself, but you may not sexualize me and I won't be a sexual object for you. Like, I feel like we're demanding a lot of a culture that's designed to sexualize women. And when we give into it as women, we're not helping it.
Well, I have to say this, and I'm a firm believer. And the only reason why I put you on mute for right now because I had an echo, but I'll take you off as soon as you guys have, want to say something. In regards to what Spec said in reference to somebody not looking at you as a woman, that also takes place as a slave owner. I don't look at you as a person. So since you're not a person or a human being, you have no rights. I don't care if this hurts and that. So in reference to the different culture, if I don't see you, because I can even hear men, especially growing up in the hood, I would hear men, she's a bitch, but she's a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, she's taking care of her business. She has like, whatever, her business. She's not a chicken head. She's this, She's a woman. I'm going to treat her with the utmost respect, blah, blah, blah. Then you have somebody out here in the street. She's pitching head in it, whatever. And then this is why we just talk to her any kind of way, because she lets us do this. But at the end of the day, regardless if the woman is making six figures or she's tricking on the street or whatever the case may be, assault is assault. No one, absolutely no one should be victimized and hurt because of that. Now, I can tell you this, when you put yourself in situations and in those type of environments, you will be able to be exposed to a little bit quicker because you are in an environment where, especially if you're in an environment where if you was at a strip club or if you was in some type of big party scene or whatever, and there's a whole bunch of guys, it's like 2 girls and 12 guys. You're not saying it's right or wrong, and these things. We're just saying you're putting yourself in harm's way, possibly. We want to talk a little bit about the college life and the. I seen a joke, and I don't know if this individual's watching the show or he'll be later, but on his page he said, if a woman comes to your room at 2 a.m, what does she want? So some people were saying like, oh, she wants to use the phone charger, or she wants to, have an eggplant, something. So it was some like little things. And I was like, oh, maybe she just wants to be held and cuddled. But those type of jokes add to that lessening of, well, why'd you go to homeboy's room at 2 a.m? Take the case of Mike Tyson. When the lady comes up to his room, she's like, hey, she has a nice little outfit on, this, that, and a third. And she's like, her intention was to kind of chill and hang out and that stuff. We don't know where it's going to go from there. But at the end of the day, she claims she got raped and Mike Tyson went to jail. Now, of course, there's a lot of brothers out there like, yo, straight lying. She was, who goes up to a room at 2 a.m? Wait now, Specs. I'm about to, let me unmute you. What do you got to say?
I remember that whole thing. Jesus. All right. So here's the thing, right?
Uh-huh.
I want to hold people accountable for their actions and being adults.
Okay.
Let's say I'm drinking, right? And I say, let me go outside, drive 30 miles over the speed limit, and then a cop pulls me over, and I put myself in that situation, and now I'm mad at the cop. Why you gonna pull me over? I'm black. No, I pulled you over because you swerving and you doing 16 to 30. Adult decisions. I get that your body's your body. We're not talking about that. But I'm not going to put as a man, right? I'm not going to put myself in a situation that I might get killed or something like that because I'm an adult, right? So using that basic technique, because men are basic. We might be smart, but men are basic. So we're saying I'm not gonna put myself in this dangerous situation because I might get hurt. So when you like, well, I'm this, and I should have rights. I get that. We're not talking about that. But don't put yourself in a crazy ass situation because crazy ass shit might happen.
Well, this is the reason why I'm going to say this, because you can use the scenario of like, wait a second, I got drunk and I get pulled over by the cop. I can't believe you're giving me a ticket. Well, you just said, don't put yourself in a situation where you wouldn't get the ticket. In that scenario, that makes sense. If I'm a lady and I am talking to Bobby or whatever have you, and he's like, just because I'm an adult, I don't have to go to bed at 10 o'clock. I'm up. I'm talking to Bobby and it's 2 a.m. or whatever the case may be. He's like, hey, why don't you come through? Or he even comes to my house. I don't drink coffee, but we can still chill. I don't care if we're in the bed, snuggling and rubbing toes. If I say no to you, no means no. Wait that finger. My God, I'm throwing the pen up. Wait.
Now
that's not my point. See, you go in here and you taking this and like, I'm gonna go here with it. That's not, and that's the thing. That's not my point. And I said that 3 times already. So you're reiterating a point I never made. I said that no means no. So let's say this again. Okay. Nobody has a right to do anything to you that you don't want to happen. 5th time. But I'm saying as an adult, if a situation might happen, you're like, nah, I'm not doing that. Think like men, like Steve Harvey. Think like a man. A man would be like, nah, I'm good, dude. I'm good. Like a man will say to other men, like, yo, let's do this. Nah, son, I'm good. That's him saying, I might be in a bad situation. Nah, man. And so we're not talking about the other thing. We're just talking about if I feel any kind of danger. Nah, son, I'm good. So I'm saying that. Now, the other thing is, it doesn't matter what situation you're in. Nobody deserves for somebody to force themselves upon you. That's never cool. That's never a thing. It's never a thing. It's never cool. No man that respects his mother, he might not have a sister or aunt, but he was born. So any man that doesn't respect his mother will, because you got to think about that. Any man that will do that to a woman has an issue with his mother. Because when you see a woman, you see your mother as a man. So how do I conduct myself? Even if you just like, I'm at the club, I still see, that's my filter. That's how my mom is. That's how she raised me. So that's still a filter. But when that filter is messed up, But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I just want to put out there, and it happens a lot because it's that borderline of victim blaming. If she wasn't wearing that skirt, then she wouldn't have been got catcalled at, and now, and calling her name. She has to walk to work every time, on South Street, and on South Street they're doing a big construction site. All the men are there. Why are you going to wear? Why can't you have common sense? Because you're going to walk through a whole pile of men. I guess there's a consensus on here. Men are basic. I didn't say it, but you two did. But you're walking there. Why can't you have common sense? Why are you walking through a whole crowd of men with your little tight skirt on going to work? That's victim blaming. She can't say, well, oh my God, this is what happened to me. No, she should have the same equal rights. No one's catcalling and saying disrespectful to the guys. And I'm talking about in this situation. Let me read some of these comments because they're going on. let's do this. So Nero says, I thank you for conversation's sake. When talking about alleged victims and alleged perpetrators, you should keep it gender neutral. If not, it's like you're applying labels related to gender. Even historically, the actions reflect one gender more than the next. Which is true. I definitely understand that, because especially nowadays, you would always hear both sides. Men definitely do get abused as well. Definitely. I think statistically speaking, especially us growing back up in the days, we'd always hear about the women being violated and not the men. But yes, you're absolutely right. If you hear me mention women or men, it's just because it's a habit, but I do. It can apply to both. It can apply to same sex.
No, I actually have a story. So I don't tell this much, but here we go. So I drink now, but in my 20s, I didn't drink, right? So I had a friend of mine that she used to just down them. Like that was her thing. So we used to flirt. Nothing really happened. So she came up to my apartment one time. So she was like, hey, take this shot of Ghost Lager. So I'm like, what? Okay, I don't drink. So I took the shot. Not a minute later, take this second shot. I take the second shot. She's like, take this other shot. So she's taking shots with me, but So I took the third shot. All right. So this friend of mine was white, and she always said she wanted to have a black baby.
Oh, this is getting interesting. Go ahead. I'm getting real close. Let me see how I can just go.
So
go ahead.
So I remember pieces because I blacked out because I wasn't a drinker. So 3 shots. So I remember I woke up, I was at the window. She's like this, like fan the air because it's summertime. I blacked out again. When I remember this time was her this way, me. I'm looking like, are we doing this?
Wait, and then, what the heck?
No, I went out again. Now remember, I was unconscious because I was Captain Condom. So I remember when I was on the ground, I still had one. So I remember her taking it off. I'm being real. Her taking it off and her trying to do her thing. So I didn't. So some of this thing come back. So all right. So a few weeks later, I'm over her apartment. So we all chilling. We have a few mutual friends. And she was like, yeah, I got to take a pregnancy test. I said, oh, for real? Why? She looked at me and said, you. And she's like, and I was like, I know. And then I had to go back because I remember the night and I was like, oh. But she wasn't. But I remember that. And I wasn't doing that without a condom. And I remember condom off and her on top. And I'm like, and I'm out. So
wait, and I don't want to wait. I have a feedback. So I don't want to minimize your story at all because once again, many people of all genders can have any type of violation to them. So if I heard you correctly, you were with this young lady. She's giving you a couple of shots. You blank out. She unwraps you and these different things, and then you guys you're doing it, and then maybe the next week she's like she might be pregnant, but you're like, wow, you possibly, she took advantage of you basically. In a nutshell.
On it because we were cool afterwards. I still don't remember the whole night, but it, so I'm not saying what it was, what it might have been. I'm just saying I have a story.
Well, let me say this in that scenario, because you mentioned about people using common sense and these different things. If you wasn't feeling the girl, is there a reason why you was over there taking these shots? You said you never drunk before. Like if I never drunk, I'm not feeling the girl. Why would be over there anyway, just taking another shot and another shot? Like, is there a reason why you was taking these shots?
Well, this is my apartment, and I've known her for years.
Okay.
So she's always been drinking, and I might like sip something. I never took a shot. So it was just two friends hanging out.
Okay.
So I wasn't over her house. She was over my house, and then she brought some liquor. And usually I don't drink that much, but she was like, "Come on," and I'm like, whatever. So in the summertime, I'm chilling. So that wasn't a scenario of me going to a place. I'm home with somebody that I know I've known for years.
Okay. Let me go back to the comments. Did you want to say something, Liz?
I got nothing. I'm sorry.
This was from earlier. Specs is drowning. LOL. Cash money. A woman has the right to go to someone's home at 2 a.m. and still refuse sex. But I see where he is saying it is dangerous to do so and can be put at risk. That is absolutely true. I mean, in a general sense, and once again, going back to Nero and what he said, let's not put gender on it. Let's not put sexual preference on it, because it could be a trans individual, and especially they are dying at a very high rate. In these different scenarios, it could be a young lady for date rape. It could be 1,000 reasons. When you are doing certain things, you can put yourself in harm's way. Why would an individual walk down a lonely alleyway? People do it. I don't want to blame that victim who was assaulted, but at the end of the day, it's like, man, when we teach our kids, like, don't talk to strangers or don't walk down that dark alleyway, we're doing it just because sometimes that bad guy could be waiting there. So I even though we are laughing right now and like, what you say, Specs? I don't want to, deminimize anybody's story and these different things, because everybody has a story. I have been personally assaulted before when I was younger. And we all have different testimonials at different times in our lives. Hey, Ty, hope you feel better. Rape is power and control. Yes, it is. Don't go down the rabbit hole, Specs. Oh, man, he is in the rabbit hole swimming.
And proud.
LOL, Miss Kia. Wow, yes. Oh, well, I went all the way down here. I don't want to miss one. Sorry, guys. Rape is only a crime when the victim must prove that they are a victim. That's so unfortunate too. I think what she's saying, it's definitely when an individual has went to the police, then they have been proven that they got the rape kit test and these things. That is definitely true. Unfortunately, so many women don't have the strength. Maybe they're afraid. Different scenarios is why they don't report an actual crime of rape. And rape doesn't have to be your traditional intercourse, with the man and the woman, any type of penetration or sodomization. And then, of course, if we're not talking about the sodomization or penetration, you could be assaulted. So there's different fine lines. And unfortunately, as I was reading up on the actual subject, every state has their own. And we're going to get a little bit down to the state laws because it sucks. Mm-hmm. State laws suck, because if you're living in New York and say, hey, this guy sexually assaulted or this woman sexually assaulted me, I'm going to go ahead and tell on them. And you move to another state or whatever have you, each law is different. And there's loopholes for the people who are the actual bad guys. Mark says men get catcalled, touched without our consent, called baby, sweetie, etc. But we're told to say something means something is wrong with us. That is true. That is unfortunate that we were raised that way. I have definitely seen women grab men and do all types of things. And you think about it right now. Imagine a fine guy, walking down the street, and you're at a party or whatever, the girls will be like, oh, let me touch her muscles. And they're doing this. So how do you know that guy wants to be touched by your raggedy ass? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. Sorry. Sounds like a defiant violation. 1 out of 4 males will be sexually assaulted before the age of 16. That is terrible. And going back to what Mark said, if you were taught especially our older generation, if you were taught to keep that within yourself and be silent as a man, especially you even hear women say, don't cry, suck it up. You have to tell mama something, but she's telling you, oh, it's okay. How many guys, and I'm put this out to the audience, how many guys out there, and I've heard this a lot in our communities, have lost their virginity to an older woman. So let's just say they were 16 years old or 17 years old. They lost their virginity to a 25-year-old. The statutory rape people, I know we're talking about R. Kelly and what he did to these little girls, but what happens to our young men? Because these young men become grown men and have this trauma. So how do you know they wanted to do these things? Some more, you got a lot of comments here. Rape is extremely underreported due to victim blaming. So are you saying you did not use discretion? I think that is towards Specs' question. And he said that the individual came to his house and he's known this lady for lots of years and these things. Correct, Specs?
Yeah.
Okay. Nero says, when you add alcohol, it is very hard to define fine consent. More times not, a person can't give consent under the influence. Ooh, I want to talk about that real quick. So Liz, the question for you. And I know you're mute, so you can unmute yourself. Unmute yourself after.
Okay.
So basically, at colleges, you'll see a lot of different parties pop off, and you'll see a lot of different cases report for sexual assault because the girl has drunken too much, and the guys are taking pictures with her, they're touching her, she's asleep, or whatever the case may be. When this statement is very hard to define that fine consent, how hard is it on the guy? Meaning, and Specs, please join in as well. So Bobby is talking to Sarah. They're enjoying each other. They're touching each other. Oh my God, and they go to the next level. She's drinking, he's drinking. But of course, he could hold his liquor a little bit better than hers. She's passed out, but they were already there. Do you think that the average guy will say, hey, this is my cue to, kind of go in and see where we can go with this? Or do you think that we need to start enforcing this on our young men to say, no, she is passed out, do not proceed any further? Because I guess you was drinking too, right? You was drinking, you was feeling kind of hot and horny. I mean, so is it something that we have to tell our sons and our young guys, like, I don't care what's going on, just don't do it? I think Liz blocked that real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's not a most man thing. That's not even close to that.
Okay.
Most dudes, if a woman's passed out, is not trying to have sex with a dead person or her just sleeping. Like, it happens. Don't get me wrong, but that's not a most dudes thing at all. Okay. So that's why I want to get that clear. You say most dudes, I was like, nah, that's not even okay. So I can't really speak for the guys that would do that because I've heard stories. I've never hung out with a guy that told me the story of that. I've been friends of a friend, and then I was like, he did what? So, but most guys that I've met in my life, that's not has ever been a thing that they were like, man, she passed out. Let me go ahead and do it. Because most men want a reaction. You want to feel like you the man, and so she's sleeping, you ain't getting no reaction. So that's not a most man thing. Okay. That's a creepy, he's done that before, or he's trying to do that. That's his thing, but that's not most men want a reaction. They want to hear like, yeah, she was screaming my name, son, she was doing this. Her sleeping, it's not a normal thing. So most dudes would they be mad, try to wake her up, and then they probably leave like, man, and then leave. But they wouldn't. No, that's not a most things. It happens, like I said, but it's not a most dudes thing.
What about you, Liz?
Well, thankfully, it's not a most dudes thing because I don't think most dudes are rapists. And I do think that it falls under the category of rape. Now, like you said, Kia, if you're both drinking, I mean, neither of you are making any sound decisions, right? So that's the hard part. But for us to act like it doesn't happen or it doesn't happen frequently, I mean, when I was younger and you saw that really, really drunk girl at the party, you almost definitely knew that if you left her at the party, she was going to be taken advantage of. So I know I, for one, would do my best to get that girl in a cab or in my car or something, because if she stays there, not because all men have that mindset, but some of them do. And more than likely at that party, and I think you mentioned the college campus and everything else, at that frat house, at that, one of those instances, that is not a good mix for a girl that's had a little too much to drink, whether she's all the way passed out or not, because not every time you drink too much are you going to pass all the way out, right? Sometimes you drink too much and there you are, you know what I mean, doing the most, which again leads to fairly dangerous situations. Not to get too in the weeds with it, but incidentally, earlier this week, I was having a conversation with somebody. I said, hey, did you see Pornhub just a couple months ago had that whole case where they had to pull like millions of videos? And a big part of that was because there's a whole section apparently of porn that you can look up, drunk girl, and it's girls that are intoxicated,
wow,
violated. And I mean, I didn't see the video that she was speaking of, but apparently it made its way through the news to the point where they, blurred everything out. But in these films, they're poking the girl. See, she's passed out. She's completely passed out. And they're like poking her eyes and poking her face, just to show you how passed out the girl is. And now they're gonna, in a group, violate her. I mean, that's an entire subsection of this entire industry, and most of the time they're not actresses that signed up for it. These are Girls Gone Wild type films that are allowed to be uploaded to sites like this. And so now it's rape and it's put on display. So we're talking about layers to this mess. You know what I mean? And for us to act like maybe once in a while or 1 in a million, not so much. 1 in 3 women are going to experience assault, and nowadays, of those 1 in 3, 1 in 3 of them are going to have it broadcast all over the internet when they have no control over it. So they lost control over their body, and now they've lost control over their reputation, their lives, everything. And a lot of times it even leads to suicide and other drug use and other things like that. So, I mean, I know we started kind of light and fluffy, but if we're going to do it, right?
It's so unfortunate because, and that what you just said right there, I guess, is the defining line of, yes, we promote rape culture. I mean, and I like to throw, as much as R. Kelly is a great musician, has songs for days. We all knew where we was when this one song came. Shit, half of us was singing "I Could Believe I Could Fly" when we were graduating or whatever have you. R. Kelly, we all knew. Even if we didn't know him, we knew from the rumors that he was sleeping with younger age women. And that's a whole nother topic within itself, right? But we also know that some of these women said no. And this, or we heard the rumor. Let's put it that way. We've heard the rumor. We weren't there. But we listened to the music. We were jamming to the music. All these songs, I can literally say all the songs that we hear talks about this. And now you just mentioned about, different porns out there where this woman is now, she got violated, but then, her whole life story is on TV now and on the internet, and people have access to it on their phones and these different things. It's definitely traumatizing. And once again, it's very hard, Nero, just to not just say the women, because men go through it too, especially our trans community. When I tell you, my God, they are definitely hit very hard with this assault. Let's read the comments real quick because they're just still flowing in. Specs was Get Out before Get Out was a thing. Okay, that was funny. When a victim reports to a hospital or police station, the process is so dehumanizing. Okay. The rape kit is very intrusive. Your body is literally a crime scene. Once again, your power is taken away, and retelling the story over and over again is so traumatizing to any victim. Cash says, if she is passed out, that's just rape. The gray area is intoxicated. Young men definitely have to say no once you understand she is too intoxicated to consent. That is definitely true. Let's see here. He was raping underage females, not sleeping with them. That language states there was a consent. Do apologize for that one. And then here, young men are taught to look for intoxicated women as easy women. I'm so glad
you them.
I'm so glad he mentioned that. This 40-Year-Old Virgin, I think, is a movie with a whole bunch of, the comedians. And in that movie, they're trying to talk to his friend basically about how you get laid. So you want to look for the most drunkenest woman in the club. You want to look for, it says he's unmute. Unmute yourself, sir.
All right, 40-Year-Old Virgin. 40-Year-Old Virgin. I know that club scene. I've seen it 1,000 times. Yeah, it's but it's a thing. So it's a thing that, because they're telling him, find the drunkest girl you can find, and that's the one you hit on. And that's the thing. Guys will go out and hunt for the girl that's fallen over. So because they are, and those guys are part of rape culture. That's a thing. Like certain guys, that whole group, that's a thing. So when you see them, because I used to work in a nightclub, when you know them and you see them, I used to tell women, see him? Nope, see him. Because it's always a handsome guy that got, I'm popping bottles. Watch him. Because he's the one that try to get you drunk. And like, come on, girl, you can do this. Come on, drink some more. So yeah, it's a thing. It's been a thing, and it's worked. Like they'll do stuff, and then like now it's a little bit different. But back in the day, when she said he did this to me, man, she was drunk. She was there. And then it's really his word against hers. His word against hers, and then all that he has to say is reasonable doubt. Man, you saw she was drunk. So that rape culture has been a thing. It's still a thing. That's why I always tell women, never get a drink from a dude. Never let a dude bring you a drink, and always go with with your girl. Because I've seen women. I got a story. So one time I'm at the club, I'm working. Girls passed out, right? So she gotta get out the club. So security's like, she can't be here. So her girls go out. So I guess they leave and they come back without her. So the next week I was like, hey, what happened? Like, what happened with your girl? So we're in Southeast DC, and this is the 90s. So Southeast is crazy. So they put her in the car, but leave the door unlocked unless she need to get out and throw up. In a kind of semi-lit parking lot, and they went to go party. So I'm like, you left your girl around the corner in a car, passed out? Yeah, but she be all right. I didn't want to say the B word, but she was like, yeah, she be all right. And I was like, who does that? But they were fine with it, because it's so ingrained in the culture. Even her girls was like, whatever.
Yeah. I'm glad you said it is ingrained in the culture. I mean, especially now we have this woke stage, and I'm very happy that we're getting more in tune with life and everything like that. But definitely, I mean, and I'm glad you said that what you said, because I wanted to change the dynamic a little bit and talk about Bill Cosby. We grew up watching Bill Cosby, from not just the Bill Cosby show. He's had movies outside, of that. Definitely a great comedian. We know him from Jell-O pudding pop commercials and the movie. And I think it was Family Dad or Family Ghost. It was one of those movies from back in the day. But yeah, sorry about that, for him being on mute. But no, we grew up, watching him, and then all of a sudden, person says he's violated me with a rape drug. Another woman comes out. Another woman comes out. Another woman. I mean, it got to be a thing. It was an everyday thing. Now the country's kind of torn now, because some people are like, you had a million years to say it. Why don't you say it then? But we already know that not everybody's going to speak their truth when you want them to speak their truth, right? But at the same time, once again, it goes back to that culture, because that culture allowed it. I know, and I wasn't born in the 60s or anything of that nature, but from people who are my elders, they would tell me they would party with lots of drugs. I would go over your house, Specs. I'm like, hey, give me one of those things. You know what? I like to get loose and wild, and then you're like, hey, I'll be back in a second, with your afro and the whole nine. And you're popping me this and that. And at the end of the day, something happens. So my question for you is, do I get to, because not saying all cases are the same, but for the woman that is lying, and this is such a touchy subject, because there are women that lie. They're point blank period. There are women that lie on men, especially if you got some money. Oh, I'm coming for your ass. how does America handle that? How do we look past that? You know, because the country is torn about Bill Cosby. Shit, the country's even torn out about the whole T.I. thing. T.I. is running trafficking women and these different things, and other people are like, what women? What are you talking about? They asked for, they're grown adults. I mean, what do we do with that? Because there are women that lie. Go ahead, Liz.
I mean, and it's funny that you say that, because it breaks down along the lines of how much do we like that person. If it's somebody that we don't like, oh, in a heartbeat, right? Just look at what's his name, Matt Gaetz right now, right? And I mean, love to hate him, just look at him, right? And so him having sex with underage girls or trafficking them, moving them around the states, it's just like, ew, see how nasty he is, gross. And you know, nobody's coming to his defense at all. Bill Cosby, how many women did it take before somebody was like, all right, fine, there might be something to it, right? We just didn't want to believe it because we liked him, you know. And again, even in that culture of statutory, or you know, we kind of let it slide if we like the person enough. How long, like you said, we were bumping to R. Kelly until yesterday. You know what I mean? Or who was it? Lil Wayne was talking about, you know, Miley Cyrus hit me when you turn 18. That means he was looking at this child and thinking, oh, I just can't wait, right? You're looking at a child. And I know, again, unpopular, please don't come for me, but how long was Jay-Z looking at an underage Beyonce? Oh, nobody talks about it.
Wait, and I'm so sorry to cut you off. And the only reason I cut you off is because of the echoing. But I was just listening to the song. It was Monifa and Mace, and the song. I'm not gonna try to sing, y'all, but basically he was like, "Yo, I followed Shorty to school. She wasn't 19." And he was like, "Well," he's like, "that could get you locked up." But he was like, "You know, I want to take this girl virginity." And I was listening to the lyrics. And the lyrics basically was like, you know, their body, when it goes through that time frame, their body is developing. Like, he's literally talking about how I'm looking at this young girl. I'm asking her how old she is, but you got to be careful because you could get locked up. But the whole song is kind of like, I'm kind of just waiting my turn. But like you said, just watching that young girl. Go ahead, Liz.
I mean, right. And we didn't cancel them. These people are predators. Like, I mean, at least they were at that time. And we decided somehow that was acceptable. Or when you hear about the boy that says, you know, when I was 14, my teacher, you know what I mean, or whatever, like as a culture, we kind of laugh, like, I know you're not complaining. Oh, you're so lucky. As a matter of fact, we don't even tell them not complaining. What we started doing, you know, not us, but especially one guy to the next, you dabbing them up. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you knocked that down. That's great. You're 14. The only thing you should be knocking down is bowling pins, if that. I mean, that's it. I mean, so I think we have to be really careful about throwing our support behind people because we like their last record, or because, you know, we just don't want to believe it. And we also have to be careful about just believing everything.
That is true. Let's read some of the comments here. Nero, it's best to look at them from a historical perspective, as we didn't get here overnight. Very true. Alistair, sexual criminals are out there, rape of men, women, and kids. We have to take whatever measure possible to protect ourselves at all time. Ty says, yes, there are folks that lie and recant their stories. It sucks for the people that are telling the truth. It does, because you get kind of meshed in. You find out that one girl was just in it for the money, and then Tamika or whoever, you know, Rhonda is like really traumatized and hurt, and you put them all together like, oh, they both are liars. You're like, no, she really did get hurt. No, definitely. Why do we keep saying having sex with underage girls? It's rape. And then she says, we must watch our language. It's so true. But I have to add to you, it's learned behavior, Ty. And what I mean by that is it's a culture that we all participate in on some form, fashion or the other, and we have to retrain our brains. So especially for you, Ty, being in that situation where you are a rape counselor or crisis hotline, and you're able to take those numbers of calls, you've practiced, you've trained, that's your everyday life. So the language comes on a second nature to you. But for the novice, for the person who doesn't have that language thing, it's something we have to write down on an every single day thing. Because I'm going to say to you, when I was a young teenager, I wasn't looking at nobody who was 14, 15. You got to be 21 and older. That in New York, that was acceptable. I would say up north, maybe even down south. I don't know. I'm not from there. Go ahead, Specs.
All right, so I'm gonna go through like this whole little story. The reason we had the summer off was for farmers. Daylight savings time and all that was for farmers. Back in those days and before, so take 100 years ago and before, a woman was grown at 13. So you married her off, and she was the head of the farm, and she had the kids, and the kids. So this culture, the culture we have now, like the woke culture as we have it now, and probably like the last 50 years, it's new to society. You have to understand that a woman, like in the Jewish culture, you're grown at 13, but as a farmer, you grown at 13. You're even having kids and you're working the farm at the same time. So this culture that we're trying to stop is still fairly new to us. So that's why it's learned, but it's been here for thousands of years. So we're now in probably like the 1900s, maybe, till now. So it's going to take a while for us to really to unlearn this, and we're working on it. But you got to nip it in the bud. But know that this is not new. Where we are now is new. 100 years ago, before 13, you're grown.
We have to also understand too, and to adding to that, our parents who raised us, right? I mean, there were some laws, the Romeo and Juliet law. So I know in New York, definitely, and in some other big cities too. So please, if you're out there, you can correct me. You have statutory rape, and basically a person is, I don't know, 15, the guy is 21 or whatever. They get caught. Parents are like, aha, I got you. You raped my child, and you can put the laws out there, and then the person might get a child molestation, a felony on them and all this. But they have Romeo and Juliet laws in the South, in some places in the South. I can say that. And what that Romeo and Juliet law is, if you had somebody Specs age falling in love with, I'm sorry to say sex, but somebody, older gentleman falling in love with a 16-year-old, if the parent consents, it's A-okay. And there's some parents out there, guys, even if the girl doesn't like it, the girl may be like, I'm not too sure. There's still even arranged marriages in certain cultures and different things where the girl's like, I'm not feeling this guy, but that grown ass man is like, oh, come over here, and that is rape, and there's so many forms and variations. But then how does the parent, I remember they did this interview because they found this politician was, writing, romantic letters to a young lady, and they were interviewing the town, and they were like, well, we all did it. All of us partook in this. Now we're going to be holding him accountable. And these times, like, this is the whole community is supporting the send off of this young girl to this older man. So definitely Specs is absolutely correct when it says this is something from way, way back that it has to change. Ty says true, Liz, very true. Nero says the allegation alone is enough to ruin you as a person. So when an allegation is not substantiated, what resources are we going to provide to alleged perpetrators at that point? That is a great question. Go ahead, Liz.
That one's actually had that conversation knowing that we were going to talk about sexual allegations, sexual assault tonight. And some almost the exact same wording was posed to me, well, what about the guy that was falsely accused? Now imagine that you're fighting off those allegations as a married man. Now you're explaining to your wife that, I didn't touch her, or she consented, or, whatever, or it comes up at your job. And now you got your coworkers looking at you crazy if you even still have a job. And I mean, I don't know that we should spend a whole lot of time talking about people that were accused of accused of it, because that's kind of also going back to sending women back into the closet, you know what I mean? Yeah. In terms of not being willing to share their story. But what does happen when you ruin someone's life? I mean, because you can, right? Kobe was cleared of everything, and still, even the day that, up to the literal day that he died, it was that rapist. I mean, he couldn't ball hard enough to wipe that off. You know what I mean? His slate. And so, are there any resources? I'm tossing it back to the audience. Do we know?
Well, I was going to say there has been some cases in the courts where, because these allegations can ruin your life, just the allegation alone. And there has been some cases where the woman has been tried and now she's going to go to jail, and then she could be sued. But of course, these are one-offs. There's no national federal law that says, hey, if you've been caught lying, because take T.I., I don't know if anybody watches any of the Marvel movies and these different things. He used to play an Ant-Man. He has a role with the Marvel universe, and they took him out of that now. That goes some money, some endorsement deals are gone. And here's the thing. So you have women saying, hey, this happens to me. You've had some women retract what they said, like, oh, my bad, I didn't mean to say that. But the big sponsors have already pulled out. They don't want that association. You over here touching them women, you over here trafficking and sexing and and violating women, so I think this, and it's so interesting because when I talked to you earlier today, Liz, I didn't know how I was going to formulate the conversation, but this is literally a conversation that can continue on and on and on, because you have the true victim, man or woman, who's been assaulted, who is afraid, who is helpless, they're ashamed, maybe they're physically hurt, just all types of things, that are going on, right? And who do I talk to? How do I come about this? Who can I release the story to? Then you have the person that was accused. Let's just say they were found innocent. They, like you said, Kobe, the day he was dead, they still had women out there in the Me Too movement. We could talk about that. Just a little tidbit, because I know we're going to be wrapping it up soon. Just recently has the Veterans Administration literally put down in their books that we will compensate for PTSD traumas for women that have been sexually assaulted in the military. And that's a whole nother conversation, because you already know there was a woman, and I'm so sorry, audience, I cannot remember her name, a young lady that just passed away in Texas at a military installation, and she was murdered because of her NCO, and it was like a whole love scandal and all these different things, but she couldn't tell anybody. Guess what? Her NCO was the person that violated her. And it's this chain of command, because especially in the military, you can't just go out of your chain. Now, there are people that can, but there's the ramification, there's so many ways we can go with this. And just to continue on, let's get to some of these comments before we wrap it up. Oh, and Ty out there, I will put the National Abuse Hotline. Thank you for providing that as well. There is a big issue when it comes to young adults and the partying they do with little supervision in college and the military. That is true. It's your boy D. That's my son. Sorry. Not enough resources and not much you can do. 15 to 30-year-olds of their life gone. 15 years to 30 of their life gone. Yeah. Not enough resources. Definitely true. And before I read this thing, it's so interesting that he mentioned that it triggered something. This is why this conversation could go on for hours. There are cases where Black men have committed sexual assault / rape, and white men have done the same exact crime. White man will get probation, ankle monitor. He was a young guy. He was just partying in that frat house. Oh my God, we love him. Poor Johnny, my God. Leroy, on the other hand, that was at the all-Black college, sent his ass all the way up 20 plus years. For some reason, for the same assault crimes, we're giving our Black men, and they're both guilty, but we give our Black men the death penalty, and that white man gets off. I don't understand that, but that's a whole nother topic within itself. When you have young adults involved in drinking and drug use, it can be difficult for schools and military to sort out who did what, and major consequences either way. I would think you would need to go through a civil lawsuit for the person that was lied on. There really is no resources for them, and that's very sad as well. There also has been cases out there where the person that was accused has committed suicide because of the shame. Everybody's like, oh, it's him. Look at that. So he lost his scholarship football deal or whatever. Everyone's talking bad about him. And then there you go. He takes his life. Come to find out, years later, that he didn't even do the crime. She lied on him because he wouldn't take her out to the prom or some nonsense. I used to deal with cadets that would leave the base to report off campuses. Okay, not used to. Okay, no, this is definitely a serious topic, guys. Let me give some information out there. the National Sexual Assault Hotline. I'm scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Once again, I know we're laughing at some things. I know that we are trying to remind ourselves that we're not being gender specific or sexual orientation specific. But if you have been assaulted in any way, please, please, please share that number, save that number, because at the end of the day, it's confidential. If you don't speak English and you're Spanish, they have somebody, a language line for you. So don't think for 1 minute like, oh my God, I can't tell anybody because of this. And then also, if you like to do the online, you can go online, rain.org, and you can chat with a counselor there. The month is not over, guys. It's Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Please, please, please reach out to people. And just be a voice to the community. I think there should be a part 2 to this, maybe some type of experts or some type of therapist, and some type of finding out resources, because both victims need help. For the ones that who've actually suffered the assault, and for the ones who are innocent and they never done anything to the person, but they were, falsely accused. Go ahead, Liz.
So, not to end on a really heavy note, but it's something that I've actually personally carried around for a very, very long time. I don't talk about it. I don't like talking about it. I won't go into too much detail about it here and now either. But if something has happened to you, or if you know somebody that is dealing with it, I'm encouraging you to speak up. And I'm encouraging you to encourage someone else to speak up. I didn't. And he went on to someone even younger than I was. Wow. And he was in his 40s. And at the time I was 16. So how much younger? And what could me saying something have done for the next person? So speak up. It feels like there's shame associated with it. The shame is not yours. If you're the person that has been the victim of a crime, the shame is not yours. Speak on it, speak to somebody, speak to anybody. If you're not ready to report it, speak about it to someone, a counselor, a friend. You're helping the next one.
Thank you for sharing that. It's very important that your voice is heard, because even at that time, if you didn't say something, you're helping somebody now. You know what I'm saying? So I know it's definitely like, my God, this is really heavy. It's something that has to be talked about. Couple extra comments before we leave. If you're in the military, they have SHARP, which deals with sexual assault, and they're serious about it. I'm so glad that the military on this part has revamped. Then there is some type of way that you can talk, because guess what? This is the new branch of the new military, as they say. My generation and yonder, they didn't have that, and you dealt with it. Love you, Liz, and take that power back. Just to thank you all for sharing. I just want to say this on the last note. It's very, very important. Please, please, please utilize that number. Don't be afraid. Don't be a victim. Oh, wait. Nobody cares when it happens to men and boys. No help. Please, please, please do not think that. And I also want to say to you that it's so hard to break the conditioning that you're in. That's what I wanted to share. When you grow up a certain lifestyle, that's the norm. And then all of a sudden now there's these new ways. But I want you to know, Mark, that I promise you in 2021, I can't talk about 1991, but in 2021, there are resources out there. That hotline that I shared, and I'll put it back. Males can also call this hotline as well. So there's no type of discrimination like, oh, you only got to be, a woman from here and here. Also, if you know somebody, please share that information as well. I want to say that, I want to see your shirt. What does your shirt say? Liz, unmute
Oh,
yourself
can
real
you see
quick.
it? I gotta stand a little bit. So I really do care. I can never tell my left from my right. Don't you?
Okay, and then that was the spin on what Melania Trump had did with her jacket.
Yeah. So she said, I really don't care. Do you? And I said, I really do care. Don't you? And even though it had nothing to do with, um, at the time, she didn't say it for that reason. She meant to be callous and cold and kind of put the impression out there that people don't care about real issues. I care.
Mm-hmm.
So
And you just got your website, right? The grown women.
yes.
Yes.
So if for anybody that's been watching the show, every Sunday night I typically wear a t-shirt that's got a message on it. I don't know if you guys know or not. I designed the shirts. I put them out there. Usually they have a message that means something to me that's relevant to today and what's happening. And finally, my website is up and running. It is grownhonestconcepts.com. I'm super excited. I appreciate the support. If you guys could just kind of rush over and at least take a look, if nothing else, right? Appreciate you.
And you know what? And that's a great way. And that's a great way of putting out your feelings about personal topics to you. You know, what a great way to have a shirt for the month of April for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, you know, saying that you definitely support the cause and everything. There's also my last little thing. I do know that there is a day, and I know it passed already, it's called Denim Day. And Denim Day was, I think this might be April 4th, if I'm not mistaken. But the concept behind Denim Day was there was a young woman and she was in a taxi cab and she had a tight denim skirt on. And she was going to a different location, you know, for a party or whatever. And that cab driver did not take her to her destination and he raped her. And he raped her on court stand. He basically said, well, the reason why I did this was because you had that denim tight skirt on. So in honor of her, people wear denim on that day just because she was definitely beat and raped and just completely, it was a terrible thing. So once again, guys, I want you to just be aware of your surroundings, help other people. I know we were raised crazy, especially the Black culture, as if this shit was the norm. This shit is not the norm. It is not okay to date a 21-year-old when you're 14. It is not okay to mess with somebody when they're intoxicated. They don't know their right foot from their left. It is not okay for you to harass men, women, date, rape, drugs for the men to get their wild, all types of stuff. We could go on and on. My last comment. Absolutely, Liz, please speak up. When you do, you're not only speaking up for yourself, but protecting others. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Love you. This was a great topic. Talk to you guys next Sunday. Hopefully we'll have those police officers on and we can ask them lots of questions as to why they do what they do.
Bye.
Bye, guys.